The Radio Memories Network is brought to you in part by Liberated Syndication. Podcast publishing made easy. Libsyn.com. That's Libsyn.com.
You are trapped in the dark cellar of your home. Beside you is the murdered body of your wife. And above at the front door are your friends looking for you, tracking you down, cutting off your escape.
Escape, produced and directed by William N. Robeson, and carefully contrived to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
Tonight we escape to a university town in England and a household where hate holds sway as we listen to John Collier's famous story, Back for Christmas.
Yes, my dear.
What on earth are you doing down here in the cellar?
Why, just a little digging.
And why, may I ask, have you chosen this day of all days to dig up the cellar floor?
Why, I thought as the weather has been so damp, this would be an excellent time to plant my devil's garden.
Devil's garden? Whatever nonsense is that?
Oh, that's my little joke about it. You see, I've managed to secure some of the spores of several unclassified wild orchids. In their natural state, they bloom under damp masses of leaf mold. The Araucanian Indians call them devil flowers because they appear to bloom under the ground.
Well, I'm sure the Araucanian Indians will be very interested if you succeed in growing these ridiculous flowers under the cellar floor. Whom else it'll interest, I can't imagine. What's that terrible smell?
Why, that's the leaf mold, my dear. Chemically identical with the earth blanket they grow under in the wild state. I really should line the pit with concrete so as to prevent seepage from this foreign soil. But I don't suppose there'll be time for it now.
There certainly will not be time for it. Do you realize that we're sailing for America a week from today, and you've made no arrangements whatever? Unless you call digging a hole in the cellar making arrangements. I certainly don't. Devil's garden, indeed. Sometimes I think you're going soft in the head, Herbert.
Well, I suppose it's inconsiderate of me. But, you see, I've been wanting to try this experiment for a long time. But what with my lectures and seminars at the university, there never seemed to be time.
Well, there certainly isn't any time for it now. I suppose you've forgotten I made an appointment for you at the barber's this afternoon.
Oh, must I shave off my beard, Hermione?
Now, we've been all through that. Of course you must. They don't wear beards in America. Go and get your jacket on and do as I tell you.
Yes, Hermione.
And don't forget to take your umbrella. It looks like rain.
Yes, Hermione.
Oh, don't look so put upon, Herbert. Someone has to plan things in this house, or you'd never even get to the university in time for your lectures, much less make arrangements for a trip to America.
I know, but what of my specimens?
There'll be plenty of time to plant your precious devil's garden when you get home from America. We're not going to be gone forever, you know. We'll be back here for Christmas.
Yes, of course. Back for Christmas. I'd forgotten.
Well, try to remember it. And if you can't do that, just do as I tell you. I've been making the plans in this house for 20 years. And if there's any digging to be done, I'll manage that as well. You understand, Herbert?
Yes, Hermione.
Good. You have just 20 minutes to clean this mess up down here and keep your appointment at the barber's. And when you finish there, I want you to come straight home.
Why, I wanted to stop at Miss Markham's and pick up some books I ordered.
Well, all right. But don't loiter there the whole afternoon, browsing over those old books the way you usually do. Now hurry and clear up this rubbish. Get rid of that smelly stuff. And no more digging, mind you.
Yes, Hermione. Yes, Hermione. How many years have I been saying that? 10 years? 15? 20? Clear up the rubbish. Yes, Hermione. Don't forget your umbrella. Yes, Hermione. Do this, do that. Yes, Hermione. Yes, yes, yes. How much longer can I stand this?
sir.
Good evening, Miss Markham.
Why, it's Professor Carpenter, isn't it?
You didn't recognize me.
Oh, you look ever so much younger without the beard. 20 years at least.
20 years.
Oh, you'll be glad to know those books you ordered have finally arrived.
Books?
Phytotomy of phalloid gametophytes and coniferous shrubs of North America. Those are the ones you ordered, aren't they?
Oh, yes. Thank you. You're very kind, Miss Markham.
Why kind, Professor Carpenter?
Well, not many young ladies in bookshops would go out of their way to look up rare books for an old professor of botany.
Oh, why, you're not old, Professor Carpenter. Really, you look... Oh, and besides, I adore botany. It's my particular hobby.
Oh, really? Well, you never told me that before, Miss Markham.
Oh, I was afraid to. You were so imposing with a beard and all.
Well, You might be interested in some specimens of alpine polyanthes that were sent to me by a friend in Switzerland.
Switzerland? I used to go there for my holidays before the war.
You like Switzerland?
Oh, I love every part of it. The lakes, the mountains, the beautiful spring flowers. Oh, especially the flowers.
Oh, yes. It seems we have quite a lot in common, Miss Markham. I'm sorry we haven't talked before.
Oh, I am too. It is all the fault of the beard, I suppose.
Miss Markham, forgive me if this sounds foolish, but I feel that shaving off my beard is the most important thing I've done for 20 years.
Oh, it is. I'm sure it is. I'm ashamed that I've been so distant with you all the time. Oh, there were times when I almost spoke up. Times when you came in here, tired after a day with your students at the university. Oh, you seemed so alone. The way I'm alone in the world. I'd like to have asked you to stay a while and talk with me. But some way or other, I wound up giving you your change and letting you go on your way.
You say you're all alone in the world?
Since my father died.
Well, did you never think of marrying?
Oh, my father was a very remarkable man. I never found anyone who seemed to measure up to what he led me to expect of men. And then the war came.
Miss Markham,
It's been so long since anyone called me by my first name. I'd like you to, if you don't mind. It's Marion.
Marion.
And yours?
Herbert.
How long have you been alone, Herbert?
Alone?
Oh, I knew you were a widower, of course, the first time I saw you.
A widower?
Oh, I can always tell. There's a certain sadness in a man's eyes. A sweet sadness, I think, when he's been married and then...
A widower? I never thought of it in quite that way.
Oh, perhaps I shouldn't be talking like this. But I've often wondered what she must have been like. Your wife, I mean.
Hermione? Not an easy woman to forget. Very strong. Always managing things. The house, my wardrobe, my friends. When we dined at a restaurant, she even ordered my food. She was always managing things. You might say she managed herself to death.
Oh, poor woman. She must have loved you very much. But she needn't have put herself out so. It's plain to see you don't need things managed for you. You need companionship, I think. Someone sympathetic with your work. But the last thing on earth you need is a manager.
Oh, well, you put it. The last thing.
A fiery horse with the
That's
speed
the
of
first
light,
time I
a cloud
thought
of
of it,
dust,
of
and a
course.
hearty hi-yo
But suddenly a whole new world
The
opened up
Lone
before my
Ranger.
eyes. Marion, America. No more of Hermione's planning my life for me. By the time I got home, my mind was working overtime.
Well, you certainly not enough about it. What
This
are
is
you
the
looking so
legend of a
pleased
man and a
about?
horse.
I don't really
and
know.
how they met.
Getting rid of the
The
beard,
story
perhaps.
of the Lone Ranger
I feel 20 years
and his
young.
great horse,
You look
Silver.
even smaller. Your face looks triangular or something. I'd forgotten your chin was so weak.
The Lone
Oh, but
Ranger
never mind
and
that. You can grow it
Tonto
back
were
soon
trailing the
enough
worst
after
outlaw in the
Christmas.
West.
Where are you
His
going?
name
Down
was
to the
Butch
cellar.
Cavendish.
I just bought this
They had
electric
followed his
lantern,
trail
and
for
I
many
thought I'd
weeks,
put it away down
until
there.
finally,
Now, whatever
they
possessed
noticed
you to
that the
buy a thing
hoofprints
like
of the
that?
outlaw's
I
horse
don't
were
know.
fresh.
I'd rather like
We're
this
close to
lantern.
Cavendish now.
Might come in
Yes,
handy.
Tonto. He can't be far
No.
ahead.
Now, Herbert, don't
promise
start
last
digging
time.
down there again.
Maybe better we
Have a
shoot
100
from
things
sight.
to do putting
No,
the house in
I
order
wanna take
before
him
we leave.
alive.
I want you to carry those boxes upstairs for
Steady
me.
there, steady,
Yes,
boy.
Hermione.
And if you're going down to the cellar, take this along and stuff it into the
Tonto, he
purse.
missed me, but he shot my
This
horse.
is my old
Get after him.
bathroom. I may need it.
Oh, nonsense. I bought you a new
Tonto's
one.
horse
Get
was
rid
tired
of
and
it.
no match in
And
speed
don't
for the
stop
animal
puttering
Cavendish
down there
rode.
with that
The outlaw
devil's
escaped.
garden or whatever you call it.
When
I'm
Tonto
through
returned
digging,
from the
my
futile
dear.
chase,
I think
he
the
found the
pit
Lone
is quite
Ranger
deep
standing
enough
beside
now.
his dead horse.
A good horse,
Oh,
Tonto.
my devil's
Loyal,
God.
faithful, and brave. But my next horse must be faster. I wish that... Tonto,
It would all have to be carefully planned, of
A
course.
fiery white stallion.
Just as carefully planned as Hermione was planning the trip to America.
We'll be on
We
the
both
lookout
went
for the
about our
wild horse
respective
while we follow
engagements as the days
Cavendish.
passed. I spent all the time I could with Mary, and finally she consented. And then was the last day, the big day, the day we were
Tonto's
to
horse
sail for
carried the Lone
America.
Ranger's saddle, his saddlebags, and bridle, while the masked
Operator.
man and the Indian
Operator, are you
continued
there?
on foot along the
I'm
outlaw's
still waiting
trail.
on that call to
When they
Salisbury.
reached the top of a hill,
Look, Tonto.
Well, put them on
they halted
quickly.
suddenly and stared at an
Hello?
awe-inspiring sight
Mrs.
far
Paul
down in the
Holton
valley.
Sons. Mrs. Herbert Carpenter here. Did you
They saw a
receive
great
my
white
letter?
stallion in a death
Oh,
fight with a
good.
giant
Now
buffalo.
remember, we'll
the
be
horse
back
was
for Christmas,
plunging,
and
rearing,
I want the
charging, and
job
dodging
done without
wildly.
fail.
And the sun flashed
What
from his
the-
coat as from a coat of
Oh,
polished
no,
silver.
I'm sure he
They
doesn't
realized
suspect
that this
anything.
was the legendary
Send the
white
bill to me in
stallion,
New York
the
as I
one ranchers and
instructed
hunters
you.
had talked so much about.
Thank you
Tonto,
so
must
much.
have that horse. I'll try to shoot the buffalo.
Oh, there you are, Herbert. Driving.
I'll get closer before it's too late.
I dismissed
As he ran downhill, the Lone Ranger watched the battle. The sleek white
I've asked
stallion
some
was nimble and
friends in
courageous,
farewell
but his
too.
strength began to wane.
Go and tell
The
them
buffalo
to
charged again and
It's too
again.
late now.
The splendid muscles of the
packed
white
and
horse were
Oh, you
slower in
have messed up
responding,
things
then too
properly.
slow. He
How
was
many
caught by
times
the
have I
buffalo's
told you to leave
charge.
things to
Wet
me?
crimson
I
stained
make
his
the
pure
plans
white
around
coat.
here.
Another
Yes,
charge.
Hermione.
The white
You'll
horse
have to
saw
do
it
better
coming
than
and he
this when
couldn't
I plan
dodge.
the trip
He
home,
staggered and
or
fell.
you'll never in the
The monster
world
drew
be back
back
for
and
Christmas.
lowered his
Back
head
for
for the death
Christmas,
charge.
back for Christmas.
And
Why do you
then
keep saying
two
that?
shots rang
Why
out.
not? We are coming back
The
for
buffalo
Christmas, aren't
shuddered
we?
from the impact of the
Supposing I
masked
were
man's
offered a
bullets.
professorship
For an
in one of those
instant, he
wealthy
stood
American
motionless.
universities.
Nonsense.
Then fell.
Americans care nothing for botany.
Luther Burbank was an American.
That's different. What have you ever done except muck around in the dirt with a lot of roots and tubers?
They've asked me to lecture. That means something.
Of course they asked you to lecture. Americans will pay to hear any foreigner deliver a lecture once. Now, there's no use getting yourself in a
Cruelly
state about
battered
this,
and
Herbert.
bruised, the white
No
stallion
doubt this
lay
extra money will
quietly
come
as
in
the
very
Lone Ranger
handy when we
bathed his
arrive
wounds.
Back for Christmas.
During the next several days, the masked man and the Indian cared
And
for
it's
the
no
injured
good you're
horse.
making a joke of
Then the
it.
wounds were closed.
Heaven knows where
The
you'd be
horse's
today if I hadn't
strength
got
had
a sense of
returned.
time.
Yes,
There was
my
once
dear
more
Hermione.
fire in his
And
eye,
since you've been so
a spring
foolish
in
as
his
to
step,
dismiss the servant,
and his head was
you
lifted
may empty
proudly.
the ashtrays and straighten out this room
Otto,
while we're waiting for
he's
the guests to
himself
arrive.
again.
I'm going
Him
upstairs to
plenty
change.
strong.
Call me
Plenty
when they get
good
here.
horse.
I
Yes,
wonder if he'll
Hermione.
take a saddle. Let's try. Steady there. Steady,
Yes,
boy.
Hermione. Yes, Hermione. For 20 years, Hermione,
No, Tonto,
always
wait.
so right.
Let him
Thought
go.
of everything.
I'd like to
Well,
have
not
that horse
quite
more than anything
everything.
in the world.
She's
But he
dressing now.
deserves his freedom.
Safe to call
He
Marion.
fought for it.
Oh, if Marion were to change her mind now.
He's turned
If
to
she had
look at
any
us.
idea I was not a
See how
widower.
the sun reflects
Hello.
on his white coat.
Hello? Marion.
Him
Herbert.
look like silver.
No.
Silver.
No, my darling.
That would be a
Nothing's
name
wrong.
for him.
My plans are the same,
Look at him.
unless you've changed.
Silver! Hey, Silver!
Good. We'll meet in New York as we planned.
Otto, he's coming back.
Yes.
just
yes,
as if he
I
knew what I
you love
said.
it, my darling. I'm sorry, I
Silver.
can't talk any longer. Yes,
Silver,
I'll meet
you
you in New
beauty.
York a week from tomorrow
Hold it,
without
hold it,
fail.
Otto.
Goodbye till then.
As the mighty stallion felt the
talking on
halter,
the
he
phone
trembled
just
as
now?
if from
Yes,
a chill.
Hermione.
Every instinct told him that he must flee at
Freddie.
once to preserve
Freddie
his
Sinclair,
freedom.
of course.
And yet he stood his
Did
ground.
I hear you say something
It
about
wasn't
meeting
gratitude that
somebody in
kept him
New
there.
York?
Why,
It
yes.
was something stronger.
Old Freddie said
some
he might
mysterious
possibly get out
bond
to
of
America before
friendship
we
and
leave.
understanding.
I said, of course,
He
we'd
heard
meet
the
him there
man's
if he
voice,
decides to go.
and he
That
liked
seems very peculiar.
Silver.
But then all
Silver.
of your friends are
We're
peculiar.
going to be part partners.
Yes, Hermione.
Just look at your jacket. Have you been digging in that cellar again?
The
Yes,
saddle.
Hermione.
Well, there's no
horse like
need
that.
for it. You can't possibly get that
Never
Devil's
won a
Garden
horse
thing
like
finished.
this.
Go and
Now,
change your
Silver,
clothes before the
We're
guests
going to work
arrive.
together.
Yes,
The
Hermione.
Oh,
horse was
never mind.
wild
I see
and
somebody coming
unused
up
to
the walk
ways of
now.
men, and
Go
the
and
weight
let
of a
them in.
saddle and a
Yes,
rider.
Hermione.
But the masked man was a kind teacher.
Yes, my dear.
He was gentle
Look
yet
out the
firm,
window.
and Silver was
There's Professor and
intelligent.
Mrs. Hewitt.
The stallion seemed to sense
But
the
who's that
desires
with
of the
them?
Lone Ranger
Why-
and did his best to cooperate.
Why-
He learned quickly,
Precisely.
and after several
Freddie
days of
Sinclair.
training, he was ready.
Peculiar. You should have been
I'm going
talking to
after
him on the
Cavendish.
phone not 3 minutes
Come on,
ago.
Silver!
And now here he is.
Yes. Yes, isn't it?
No
But then, as
hoofs
you
had
say,
ever beat
Hermione,
the plains like those
all
thundering
my friends
hoofs of the
are
great horse
Not
Silver.
half so peculiar as you.
During the past few
Digging in the
days,
cellar an
Cavendish
hour
had
before
gotten
we leave
far
for
away,
America.
but the
Just
masked man
look
and
at
Tonto
yourself.
trailed him
And now
relentlessly
that I
with
think
only a
of it-
minimum of rest.
Oh, never
It took
mind
days
showing
to
us
cut
the
down the
moon.
outlaw's lead.
You were going
but
to
at
ask me
long
something,
last,
Hermione.
Cavendish came into view.
But the hole I'm digging in the cellar.
Oh, good heavens.
The mighty
Rolling
stallion
your eyes.
responded with a new burst of speed.
One would think you were digging a grave down there
Cavendish
instead of a
fired
storage
wild shots
bin.
over his shoulder
Yes, Hermione.
until his gun was empty. His
I
horse,
said
though
yes,
powerful and fast,
Hermione.
was no match for the charging Silver.
Door and stop saying yes.
Fury and panic
Hermione.
filled the outlaw's face.
I think,
he heard the
my dear,
hoof
I've said
beats
it for
ever
the
nearer.
last time.
And then the masked man shouted.
I want you, Cavendish!
The masked man's
Back
avowed
for
mission was
Christmas.
accomplished.
Hermione was
The
so
last of the
positive he would be
Cavendish
back
gang was
for
captured
Christmas.
to be tried by law
That
and
last
punished
afternoon,
for his
pouring tea
crimes.
for a few friends who had come
There
in
were
to say
many
last-minute
others
farewells.
whose
She
criminal
kept
plans
reiterating.
Oh,
were
I
to be
promise
challenged
you,
by the
Mrs.
Lone
Hewitt.
Ranger,
Remember,
his
we
faithful
absolutely
Indian
must
companion
have you with us for
Tonto,
Christmas.
and his
Oh,
great
yes,
horse
it's
Silver.
It's not absolutely certain, of course.
Herbert, what do you mean it's not certain? Of course it's certain.
After all, Herbert, old boy, you've contracted the lecture for only 3 months.
Quite right, but then, of course, anything may happen.
Oh, Herbert adores being unpredictable. Now, what other man would dig a great hole in a cellar on the very day he was leaving for America? A hole in the cellar? Yes. He's going to put some unclassified wild orchids down there. A devil's garden, if you please. Sounds mysterious. That's Herbert, though he's really quite simple once you find out what he's up to. Now, take that telephone call he put through to you a few moments before you arrived, Freddie.
To me?
Yes. Herbert wanted to surprise me about your plan to meet us in New York next month. That's why he called, of course, to ask you not to mention it.
But, my dear Hermione, Herbert couldn't possibly have telephoned me within the past hour. I've been walking in the park since 3.
He didn't telephone you?
Well, how could he? And as for my going to America...
Oh, now, come, Freddie. You may as well own up. Hermione has found me out again.
But, Herbert, old chap, I really don't understand.
There. You see what a poor liar Herbert makes. He's red as a beetroot.
Aren't you ashamed of yourself, Professor? Stringing poor Hermione along like that. And as for you, Freddie, I'm furious you said nothing to us about going to America.
But look here, old girl, I've been trying to tell everyone that I have no...
Stuff and nonsense. The game's gone on long enough. Perhaps Herbert's merely planning a surprise for me.
Yes, let's leave it at that, my dear.
Well, we must start getting ready. It was marvelous of you to come in to say goodbye. And don't worry about Herbert's little jokes. Oh, I will bring him back for Christmas. You may rely on it.
They all believed her. For years, she'd been promising me for dinner parties, garden parties, committees. And the promises had always been kept. This time, they wouldn't be. I'd seen to that. The servants were gone for good, the farewells all said. I had timed to the minute how long it would take to fill in the hole in the cellar, in my devil's garden. Upstairs in the bedroom, I undressed, folded my clothes over a chair, and put on my old bathrobe. Then I opened the door into Hermione's room.
Are you ready, Herbert?
Hermione, have you a moment to spare?
Of course, my dear. I've just finished.
Then do come in here for a moment. There's something rather extraordinary here.
Good heavens, Herbert, what are you lounging about in that filthy old bathrobe for? I told you to put it into the furnace.
I shall do it today, yes. I really will, I promise.
Well, high time. Now, what is it you want to show me?
In the bathroom here. Just look. Who in the world do you suppose dropped a gold chain down the bathtub drain?
Nobody has, of course. Nobody wears such a thing in this house.
Then what's it doing there?
I don't see anything.
Here. I'll hold this flashlight for you. If you lean right over, you can see it shining deep down.
Oh, such a lot of nonsense. Just with it. I don't see it, Herbert.
Go on looking, Hermione. In just a moment.
Herbert, I absolutely refuse to wait. Herbert, what are you doing? Take your hands off my neck.
I will, Hermione, just as soon as I've finished the arrangements for my trip to America.
What are you talking about?
You thought you were the only one who could plan things, didn't you, Hermione? Well, I've been making some plans of my own this past week. In exactly 2 minutes, you'll be dead, Hermione. You see, 2 minutes. I've planned it very accurately.
You'll never get away with it. Let me go.
I thought you'd say that, but I will get away with it. You won't mind the smell of the leaf mold down in the cellar when I take you there today. Yes, that's where you're going, Hermione. Into my devil's garden that annoyed you so much.
Oh.
The soil is full of clay. It won't settle too much. In a month or so, it won't even look as if it had been dug up.
My friends, they all expect me back for Christmas. If they don't hear from me, they'll wonder. If I don't come back, they'll start asking questions.
Oh, no, they won't. Because you'll write them letters, Hermione. On the typewriter, as you always do. They'll be signed H in that neat, cryptic way you always sign your notes to your friends. No.
It won't work, Herbert. You never were any good at planning things.
Oh, but I've changed, my dear. I've learned from watching you all these years.
The lecture people in America, they'll expect you to be traveling with your wife.
I will be traveling with my wife. But her name will not be Hermione. Fortunately, they'd never met you. I'll write a few letters home for you. Then fewer and fewer. Write letters signed with my own name. Always expecting to get back, but never quite able to. Keep the house 1 year, and then another and another. They'll get used to it. Might even come back alone in a year or two and clear it up properly. Say you died in America. Nobody will ever suspect you're lying under the floor of the cellar in this very house.
Oh, but it won't work, I tell you. That pit you dug in the cellar,
I can assure you, my dear Hermione, it'll serve its purpose well. Sorry, my dear. I've got to get this done on schedule. You have just 5 seconds to say your prayers.
Oh, but you must listen. The cellar. Don't do it, Herbert. Herbert. Oh.
Hey. The water cut off at the main as I knew she would order it. She was so thorough, but so was I. Strangulation. Nothing to wash up. The electric current shut off exactly at 1 o'clock, just as she ordered it. She thought of everything. So did I. My nice new electric lantern. Plenty of light to work by in the cellar. The old bathrobe she wanted me to throw away came in handy now if there should be any chance blood stain. Then into the fire with it afterwards, the last evidence of my devil's garden. It was going well. Still an hour till I had to leave for the boat. The hold was almost filled. No. Oh, no, not now. Go away, please. Whoever you are, go away. Did I lock the front door? If it's the Wallingfords... Oh, no. Go away. Go away.
I say, Herbert, old thing.
Woo-hoo, Hermione.
Just keep calm, quiet. They won't look down in the cellar. Keep calm. They'll go away.
Where the dickens can they be?
Oh, the car's there.
Maybe they popped round to Liddell's.
Oh, we must see.
Oh, the shops, maybe. Something at the last minute.
Oh, not Hermione.
Shall I shout?
Oh, don't. Might not be sensible.
No harm in a shout, my love.
No, let's come in our way back. Hermione said they wouldn't leave till 7.
Oh, all right. Only I want a last drink with old Herbert. He'd be hurt, you know.
All right, let's hurry. We can be back by 6:30.
6:30. There's still time. After that, it was easy. Put the finishing touches on the Devil's Garden, dress fast, get out of the house before 6:30, take the boat trade to Southampton and board the ship for America. All according to plan. Hermione's plan. I say, Stuart.
Right, sir?
My wife is indisposed. She'll be taking her meals in our stateroom.
Oh, for the old voyage?
Yes, for the whole voyage.
Well, I trust your wife is feeling better this morning, Professor Carpenter.
Yes, a little. Not yet well enough to leave her cabin.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, by the way, here's a copy of the radiogram you sent for your wife last evening.
Oh? Oh, thank you. I'll just check it over. I say, look here.
What is it? Did the typist make a mistake?
No. No, nothing important. She can correct it later. For a moment, I had the feeling that Hermione had been leaning over my shoulder again, correcting what I'd written, as she always did. I had written a radiogram to Professor Hewitt and his wife. Haven't been out of my cabin the whole beastly trip. Herbert well. We now doubt we will be back for Christmas. The copy read, we no doubt will be back for Christmas. Exactly what Hermione would have written. The rest of the voyage was uneventful. And Marion and I met in New York and were married just as we'd planned. Just as we'd planned. Professor and Mrs. Carpenter, we have reservations, I believe.
Oh, yes, we've been expecting you, sir. Boy, take Professor and Mrs. Carpenter's luggage up to their suite. You know, Mrs. Carpenter, you're quite a surprise. Your letter reserving the rooms was so, thorough. I was expecting an older, more forbidding sort of person, frankly, ma'am.
Oh, no. As a matter of fact, we're just married. But my letter reserving the room...
I wrote the letter, my dear, and signed it Mrs. Herbert Carpenter. Purely a joke.
Oh, what a cunning old fox you are, Herbert.
Now that I think of it, I am, rather.
Oh, I almost forgot. There's a letter for you, Mrs. Carpenter.
A letter from me? I wonder who on earth...
Well, we shall find out in good time. Come along, my dear. We're keeping the boy waiting. Nothing like a cold, brisk shower to put a man to rights.
Herbert, this letter...
Oh, yes, the letter. Dry my hair, will you, dear?
It seems to be a bill of some sort. From a building contract in Salisbury. Oh, bother. Dry your own hair.
Oh, thank you, my sweet. Let's see this bill or whatever it is.
It's very puzzling. Herbert.
Hmm?
You were a widower, weren't you? I mean, Hermione isn't still alive.
I can assure you she is not. Let's have that letter. Dear madam, this is to acknowledge your order together with the key... Together with the keys to your house in Launceston Place. Our men had no difficulty in finding the place where your husband had begun the excavation in the cellar, but apparently changed his mind at the last moment and filled it in again. Oh, no.
What is it, Herbert?
Our men will begin digging tomorrow, and you may rest assured that it will be a professional job and will be completed in ample time for your surprise Christmas present to your husband. We are happy to be conspirators with you in this thoughtful gesture and hope that Professor Carpenter will be pleased at the results of our work on what he so quaintly calls his Devil's Garden. Very truly yours, Paul Holt & Sons Contractors.
What does it mean, Herbert?
It means that Hermione was right. I will be back for Christmas.
Escape is produced and directed by William N. Robeson, and tonight brought you Back for Christmas by John Collier. Adapted for radio by Robert Tallman, with Paul Frees as Herbert, Eleanor Audley as Hermione, and Marta Metrovich as Marion. Music is conceived and conducted by Cy Fuhrer. Next week...
You are lost in a London fog, exhausted and frantic, unsure if the figures looming around you are real or creatures of your fear. And behind you, pursuing you, intent on killing you, lurks a murderer from whom you must escape.
Next week, we escape with Algernon Blackwood's ghostly story, Confession. Good night, then, until this same time next week, when again we offer you Escape. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.